Welcome back. We are looking at the meta after the second weekend of Mega Rising. We're looking at all of the 100 plus player tournaments and looking at what made the top fours and looking at any general sort of trends in the meta. Hey, I'm Scandy. I make videos about the competitive scene in Pokemon TCG Pocket. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like, maybe sub to the channel, and let's get into it. So we are starting off with the Mega League, which was 151 players. So first place was Inshane, going 12-0 with Suicune Greninja. I'm generally just going to skim over a lot of these decks because there are quite a few. So Suicune Greninja still good. So we have Mega Absol in second place, but this is a slight variation. I mean, one of the more common Absol decks is the Oricorio Pichu one. This is sort of like a dark daycare where you're running you're running Chingling and Tyrogue as well. So Tyrogue's quite good because if you combine that with the Darkrai ping, that's like 40 damage a turn, or even 30 just from the Chingling. So you've got the Chingling to like lock out your opponent's items, you've got chip damage on the bench, Tyro can also do chip damage as well. And then we have probably what is the standard Mega Altaria deck in third place. Basically, Mega Altaria, you've got Jirachi, Chingling, Sableye to deal with Oricorios, and then DD for healing. And in fourth place, we have the other sort of more standard Mega Absol deck, which is Oricorio, Pichu, Darkrai. Okay, so going on to the Buou tournament, 50 USD prize pool. 128 players, so top four. Another Suicune Greninja in first place, so we're not going to look at that too closely. What we will look at is a deck I saw and basically ran a tournament and made it into the top cut. So the second place with Goodra. So something which sort of has been slowly... I don't think it's good enough to sort of be everywhere, but probably I would expect to see maybe one or two of these in the top cut of a tournament. So I made a video on this going into more detail, but generally you've got a sticky membrane to make it harder for your opponent to activate attacks early on. You go into Goodra, which heals itself for 40. You've got the Rocket Heavy Helmet, which minus 20 damage. You've got Ndidis on the bench healing it. Lilies for healing as well. You could just... The Goodra can sort of take full like 130, 140 hits to the face and sort of keep on trucking. Okay, third place was another Mega Absol Pichu deck. And then fourth place, so this is a weird one because it's Greninja Suicune, but one of Palkia. And there's a Misty. So obviously the Misty is there to scam games with Dimensional Storm. But Palkia, one energy for 30 is actually quite relevant in the meta, just because you can delete babies. So definitely more of an anomaly, but it's nice to see a different water deck, or slightly different. Okay, and we got the Imperium Series, so 322 players. And this is where we're starting to see some of the new stuff for like week 2 of the meta, which is having our old friend MAGNEZONE Oricorio turn up again. So with the addition of Chingling, so we now have Copycat, which is like a better Iono. So just getting into the MAGNEZONE part seems to be, you've got this. If you've not got Copycat, you've also got May. Just makes drawing into the MAGNEZONE easier. Electric energy is always good. Like fighting energy doesn't really exist so much right now, so you don't have to worry about weakness. MAGNEZONE does a lot of damage for a 1-pointer, so it's enough damage to sort of overwhelm things like Suicune and Greninja. So the other deck that's been showing up a lot this week is DECIDUEYE. So again, you've got limited stuff on the bench for Suicune to use for damage. Bench sniping is incredibly powerful. You've got the 70 damage sniping arrow to take care of Oricorios, and also pick off other basics. Blaziken, like fire is also sort of lesser present in the meta right now, so you don't have to worry too much about going into weakness. And just the ability to control the bench is incredibly powerful, so you can snipe the throw keys before they become Greninjas. You don't have to worry about Cyrus or Sabrina, you can just start putting damage on people's Megas early on. I mean, things like Swablu's only 50 health, so that'll go away as well. Third place, Suicune Greninja. And fourth place, so again, something else that's sort of been present in the meta, but not massively. Silverly Oricorio. So Silverly is still... It didn't stop being a broken card. Maybe it just got a bit overshadowed by some of the new hotness. And obviously things like... doing 100 damage isn't what it used to be, because things like Blaziken and even like Altaria just don't really care. Okay, next we have the... this is Blazing Executors $25 Executor Cup, 201 players. First place, Suicune Greninja. Second place, we've got Chingling Tyrogue again, so the Dark Daycare. This one's so slightly different Altaria deck. So it's a dual energy. I'm assuming it's running Psychic, and then the dual energy comes from the Pichu. The baby Altaria, the dragon type, so 2 mixed energy will get you plus 60, so it does 100 damage. Decent amount of damage into a lot of things, because you can threaten to 2-shot an opposing Mega Altaria. And usually also Oricorio Pichu. So you don't always rely on Oricorio to swing, but you can if you give it electric energy from the Pichu. So Potion, and then usually Citrus Berry for the healing. So Citrus Berry triggers when you go below half, if you're below half at the end of turn. So I guess if you're low health, like this is sort of a better potion. Lastly, 4th place, we've got another Decidueye deck. So pretty standard 2 EX, 2 babies. And then we're going into Pocket Lagoon Mega War number 4 with 118 players. A deck that has been cropping up a lot, and occasionally will just spike into a top 4, is the Luxray Oricorio Zero Aura deck. So again, being able to, I mean, the damage from Flash Impact is pretty impressive with 2 energy. Sniping for 120 on the bench is also really good, and the fact you can do that back to back with Volcano is pretty gross. 2nd place, Suicune Greninja. We've got another Oricorio Mega Absol, and then lastly another, I think this is pretty much another standard, yeah, another sort of standard like Mega Altaria deck. Okay, so from Mega Wars we're going into the Umbreon X Underground Friday Madness, which was 161 players. So taking the top spot is probably the standard Hydreigon deck. We've got double Hydreigon, 1 Absol, 1 Cleffa. So the Cleffa helps you find stuff, as does Copycat. And then Mega Absol is sort of there as a finisher. So yeah, we have the same player, I think. Yeah, so we have the same player, Chiha Rotsure, also making it in top 4 with this deck again. So I think people weren't, like even myself included, weren't rating Citrus Berry, but maybe it's worth a look. Yeah, so going the dual energy with the Altaria, I might have to give this deck a try. It seems very unusual, but you can't argue with results. And 2 top 4s in like 100+ player tournaments is pretty decent. Then we're going to standard like Sui Gren deck. We do have a showing for Blaziken. Again, fairly typical, like Blaziken, Entei. They're running 1 baby Blaziken to take care of Oricorios and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy here. Then we're on to Pocket Lagoon Crew Mega Wars number 5 with 102 players. 1st place, Sui Gren. 2nd place is, I think, pretty much the same Hydreigon deck again. This one, yeah, again, pretty standard Altaria deck. And then lastly, we have basically another MAGNEZONE Oricorio. Okay, so we have the Daniel C. Mini 50 USD prize tournament, which was 379 players, so one of the bigger ones of the week. So we have Decidueye deck again. I think after like midweek, people saw this having some success, and it started to sort of flood in now. So it's not uncommon to see like 4 or 5 of these in the top cut. They have Suicune Greninja, another MAGNEZONE Oricorio. I think they're pretty much like copy pastes, yeah. And then another one of the standard Hydreigon lists there as well. Okay, and then we come to the biggest tournament of the week. 791 players was the Pocket Mads tournament. So we have Pichu Oricorio Mega Absol. We have another fairly standard Greninja deck. But in 3rd place, we have one of the other additions this week that's sort of been cropping up, is that people have sort of leaned in a little bit like away from Entei and into HEATMOR. So now you see Blaziken Entei, and you also see Blaziken HEATMOR. So what does HEATMOR do? It's basically what the old Hitmonlee does. It just does 30 damage to the bench. So being able to snipe stuff on the bench and then bring it in with Cyrus, or do any kind of early damage, or like pick up like 30 HP Pokemon, or even just like threaten 60s, is kind of a big deal. And it seems to be working out. And then lastly, we have slightly different Hydreigon build. So they're missing the middle evolution. They've got a couple of Chinglings. But other than that, it's fairly straightforward. Just Hydreigon just does horrendous damage if it comes out on curve. So main takeaways from this week is the power level of the Megas is basically unchanged. Mega Altaria Absol are probably still on top. Suicune Greninja continues to be a menace. Like, it's pretty much in all of the top 4s. There's usually at least one. The main difference we've seen is obviously we've got the Decidueye decks coming back because they're good into Suicune and other stuff. MAGNEZONE has also appeared. And also people are sort of teching into HEATMOR a little bit for Blaziken deck. Blaziken's probably still on the lower end, not the lower end, but sort of the mid end of the megas in terms of power, really. For like less for the mega itself and more just for like the decks it can bring. And other than that, we've just seen what we've sort of seen already, which is like people mixing in Oricorios and Chinglings into existing decks. So with the Decidueye decks, I've seen people, myself included, mix in Chinglings with sort of mixed success. And again, we saw like the deck, actually probably one of the more interesting decks of the week was this one. So we've seen a lot of different Mega Altari decks, but this one is quite different. Like no one else is running something like this. Okay, so that's an overview of the meta at the end of week 2 of Mega Rising. I think things are still pretty diverse. They haven't really settled down that as much as I was expecting. We're still seeing like we've got strong decks like Suicune Greninja and Mega Altari, but we're still seeing a kind of mix of stuff in the top cuts and top 4s. But what do you think? Let me know. How do you feel about the kind of the current state of the game right now? Leave it down in the comments down below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, maybe give the video a like, maybe give the channel a sub, and I will see you later.